All right, welcome back to the Wine and Dime Pod, the podcast where we drink wine and talk hoops. I'm Chris and that's Lindsay, and today we got a little New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc on deck for you. I did not mess up and buy the low alcohol version. I got the regular. We're living 2023
Yeah.
from Stoneleigh.
You got a 2023, mine's 2022. So again, we have a little vintage difference.
Oh, yeah, I only had the 24 and the 23 available to me at my local Lickmo, but I ain't mad at this one at all. It's pretty good.
It's nice. I'm not gonna lie, someone left this bottle at my house, so it worked.
It's
It's
crisp,
pretty
is how
tasty.
I describe it.
Yeah. Um, this region, like Marlborough, this region of New Zealand is like famous for its Sauvignon Blanc because it's a really cool climate, which Sauvignon Blanc loves. So, this region's like famous for it. It's one of the most popular Sauvignon Blanc regions in the world now. And this one's definitely very characteristic. It's got that really nice, like green apple-y, citrusy acidity and like flavor, a little bit of tropical fruit. This one definitely has a little melon, but it has like those grassy notes that you expect as well, and some like that wet stone kind of flavor. So it's very classic New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. We definitely
Whetstone
chose
means
this
means
wine
if it's straight no wine
because
drinker, well, that's good. You know what I mean?
yeah, wine. It's just like a. It's not a bad thing. It just gives it gives it like an
Yeah,
earthier tone, essentially, kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, we're having some technical difficulties with our internet here, so hopefully this works. But yeah, the Stoneleigh is really good. It's like a pretty typical example. New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc's tasty, and we kind of decided to go with some New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc because Steven Adams is in the playoffs, and honestly, if you're gonna pick a wine for any individual player, he's pretty fucking cool. So he's just a chill guy. So picked a chill wine.
Stephen Adams Day every day
Wines
on
like
this
this are
pod.
great
I'm
because
celebrating it.
yeah, inaugural. And I don't know, such a fun player, and Sauvignon Blancs are very chill wines, much like he's a very chill dude. So it's perfect. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it is the playoffs. So I don't know. We have a couple places we could begin, but I think the first is like, the Grizzlies just got eliminated right before we started recording. So uh, maybe we should give them a little funeral here. RIP to the Grizzlies. They got swept by the Thunder. They made it close in the last couple games, but 4-0 loss is tough. John Morant got hurt after a nasty fall. That kind of fucked up their season a little bit there too. They fired their coach before. Their interim coach didn't seem like he made the team much better.
Man, lost
Yeah,
the first two games of that
a
series
lot
by
going
like
on there.
80 points combined. It was not ideal. You think you get the dead coach bounce, get a little boost going into the playoffs, and man, that shit did not help even a little bit. They got absolutely crushed in a way that makes you think that maybe it's time to shake things up personnel wise in Memphis. Like maybe it's not just a coaching issue.
Yeah,
Maybe it's time to explore some trades because this roster seems to have hit its ceiling. They haven't really done anything in the postseason.
yeah. I was listening. I can't remember who Zach Lowe was talking to when they had this discussion earlier this week. But he kind of talked about how on the list of it was with Howard Beck because it was on Monday, and they were talking about the Ringer's top 100 players in the NBA. And both of them, kind of joke about working there in a way because it's like they work there because they're friends with Bill Simmons, and it's like easy to go there. They're not like kind of grinding it out like some of the Ringer staff. Like they still do stuff, but like they're at a different level for sure, which is fine. But they were talking about it and how, you have to go pretty far down the list before you find a Memphis Grizzly. And I think John Morant or Jaren Jackson Jr. are like the top Grizzly, but like that's kind of it. And even then, I mean, you're kind of seeing that like when John Morant's not on the court, the team in some ways is not necessarily doing better, but they're not exactly worse either. I don't know. It's definitely just kind of a sketchy situation. I think there's a lot of reasons for it, obviously, but the roster is just not good. We kind of talked about that like an episode or two ago as well, about how like they just don't have any depth. Like they have a bunch of just like okay players, a bunch of like 75 rated players in 2K and a couple of like 95 players, and that's like not enough to really get you far at the end of the day, especially if one of those players is hurt all the damn time and the other one fouls like a motherfucker.
Yeah, it's kind of even the top end of the roster. When you look at Ja and Triple J, you've got a defensive-minded big who rebounds like a big guard, and you've got a point guard who isn't really an outside shooter or a good defender at the point of attack. And so you've got these two, odd-shaped pieces who, to get the best out of them, you kind
Hmm.
of have to shape the entire roster around them to cover for their weaknesses and accentuate their strengths. Like they're kind of unique player archetypes in that way. And neither one of them really feels like the perfect complement. Like the rest of the roster is shaped around them in a way that brings the best out of them. And it's difficult to build a team like that when you have two guys who aren't like you can plug them into any system and get the best version of them type of dudes. And so I'm not really sure what moves are going to help maximize that roster, but I'm surprised to see one of them, be the subject of a couple of phone calls. I don't think they're necessarily going to get traded, but I think the front office might explore a little bit, see what's out there, what kind of offers they might be able to get.
I think there's definitely something to be said for the idea of like a change of scenery for someone like John Morant, potentially unlocking him or helping him maybe like have to refocus. Because there's obviously been a lot of just off the court stuff with him as well that I think plays into it a little bit. Everyone's just kind of sick of everyone there, it seems like, or at least, I don't know, the body language on the court too, between him and his teammates and just his teammates in general, like the whole team is kind of like meh. So it's definitely kind of weird. The vibes have very much taken a turn the last couple of weeks. Um, and yeah, I don't know whether or not they actually trade them, but I think that, yeah, like you said, they think they take some calls. And it's kind of sad because like a couple of years ago, this team felt super up, like, felt like they could reach real heights, right? They felt like the Grizzlies weren't down for very long, and then they can go far again, and they just have no. They're just in a weird spot now. They just don't feel. I'd like them in Minnesota are kind of analogous to me in some ways because they got their stars around the same time, and I just have more hope for Minnesota. Like I just feel more optimistic about them. Even right now, they're still one player away from really being like they need a point guard who's not 38 years old. No shade to Mike Conley, but they just need something else once he goes, especially. So, but yeah, Minnesota just I feel better about their trajectory than I do about the Grizzlies, and it's kind of weird because a couple of years ago they played each other in a first round series, and we're like, ooh, is this a sign of things like we're going to see in the playoffs in coming years? And then since then, it's been very different paths.
Man, I feel like with Minnesota, like, because their top guy is very much you could put him on any team and he'll find a way to get at least 90% of what he is because Ant Edwards is one of those guys who is like a very it's almost like a perfect circle in terms of like what his skill set looks like. He can handle the ball, he can do some playmaking. He's apparently randomly become an elite outside shooter. He can defend on the ball. You know what I mean? He can attack the basket, get free throws. Like maybe he hasn't maximized everything he's got yet. He's not like a top five player yet or anything like that. But you can put him on any roster and you can find something for him to do at an extremely high level. Whereas like these other guys, it's a little bit you can see them in situations where it's like round peg, square hole. You know what I mean? So I think the Wolves have like an
Jaw
easier
kind of,
roster building like puzzle to solve.
yeah. I also think they've just had less drama in general, which is a thing,
Mm.
but and injuries too. Ant is healthy, or he plays through a lot, right? The other thing, Ja almost reminds me of Trey Young, where he with like they have one really good skill, for instance, like they're both really good passers. I will give John Morant credit; he's a good playmaker. But he mostly his thing is like athleticism, right? He gives like young Russell Westbrook vibes in that sense, where he's just really like he's not the best shooter, not really a great defender, but
Mm.
he is really elite at those two things. But it kind of makes it hard to build a team around him because you always have to try to be protecting him on defense while also still having enough offense around him that you can do something. And it's kind of hard to find those players, right? Like, look how Atlanta's really struggled to build a team. And they're getting lucky now that they have Jalen Johnson, who kind of seems to be that perfect mix of both things. But it's really it's a difficult team building structure. Have
Yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah. Atlanta, the Grizzlies don't want to end up like Atlanta, where you're the 8, 9 seed every single season. And nobody thought the Grizzlies would be in this place, right? A few years ago, they were like the vibiest team in basketball, and now they might be like bottom two in vibes next to perennial last place Charlotte Hornets. You know what I mean? Like it is a really
yeah.
weird situation chemistry wise, and also like from a roster building standpoint, what pieces do they have? They're going to elevate them to, not just be stuck in that 8, 9 over and over and over and over. Something has to change. Like somebody has to either add a new dimension to that game or they need to find a way to get somebody who brings something new to the table because it kind of feels like that much. We kind of know who these players are at this point. They've been in the league for a while. They're not really quite young guns anymore, even though you wouldn't necessarily call them vets. But they're not. We kind of know how they play at this point in their careers.
Yeah, they're not anything like new and interesting anymore. We know who they are.
It's a damn shame. They put together a Vancouver Grizzlies ass performance in the playoffs this year too, especially in those first two games, man. Like, I Big Country could have gone out there and did a little better than they did in game one, man. And I don't
Hey, I
mean
love Big
Big Country
Country.
from the '90s. I mean Big Country like right now. Like it was they did not do themselves any glory in that game, man.
No, I mean they fought pretty hard in this last game here that they lost, but the Thunder were just so much clearly better. To be honest, it concerns me more that the Thunder didn't blow them out the last two games. Not so much that Memphis put up a fight. It was more that
Mhm.
Oklahoma looked like they got bored. They smoked them so bad in the first two games, they just got bored. And I was like, you guys are too young to feel that. You need to kind of. They didn't really. It almost felt like they didn't pace themselves. They got shot out of a cannon, and then they kind of, eased up for two games. So they need to address their level of consistency. But yeah, the Grizzlies, RIP. Any final thoughts on them before we move on to more of the other playoff teams who are still playing?
It's a damn shame, man. Especially since I've been watching all this, the old band getting back together, like Marcus Sol talking to, Tony Allen and stuff like that. Like seeing,
Zebo,
the old Grizzlies
yeah.
chatting. You know what I mean? It's been a good nostalgia trip. There's a point in time when I've been a Knicks fan my whole life. There's been times where I'm like, hey, if I had gotten into basketball right now, this is usually during like dog shit periods in Knicks basketball. I'm like, if I had gotten into basketball right now, this is probably the team I'd be a fan of. And that was the Grizzlies for me in like the early 2010s. But so I kind of have an affinity for them, even though they're not my team. So it's kind of sad to see them just getting absolutely smacked in the playoffs when they seem like rising stars not that long ago, like literally like 2 years ago.
They're definitely one of those teams where it's easy to kind of just like them because they're
Mm,
such a small market. They
yep.
had such a likable team with the grit and grind Grizzlies. Like, how can you not like Mike
Mm.
Conley, Marc Gasol, Zebo? Like, how do you not like
Man,
those guys, right? Unless
man.
you're like a divisional rival, but like, how do you not like them otherwise? And it seemed like Ja was going to be that next kind of star. Like when he first came in the league, like not to kind of harp on the Ja point, but it's just like he's their franchise player and like the culture goes as he does. And it
Yeah.
seems like the vibes have gone as he does a little bit, right? So like when he came into the league, like it was like so wholesome. And I'm like, oh man, he's totally like that next kind of like batch of star that
Mm.
was like Zebo and Marcus all in them, right? And maybe has a little more like swag and stuff in a different way, like obviously different personality, but just that kind of like, okay, cool, like this is gonna be a likable guy in a likable franchise. Like the way that him and like Jaren Jackson were like, going for going out for like JV and stuff like that. Like it was always just like so fun. And it
Man, not
just
only
sucks
that, but
that like
yeah.
it's yeah, it's dead.
Yeah, the vibes are gone. They've wilted, they've withered, and it's a damn shame, man. Also, shout out to Marc Gasol, who I hadn't heard him talk in a long time until he did this like recent round of interviews. He's listened to some 3 6 Mafia. He enjoyed the local culture when he was going to high school in Memphis for sure. Like, shout out to him. I love this is a tangent, but like one of my favorite like NBA things is because there's so many foreign players, and because for a lot of these guys, like they spoke English before they came over, but probably the first time they used English as their primary language was in the US, but in a very, very specific environment, right? Not just like, oh, I'm in the US, I have a job, I'm an accountant, whatever, but like in an 80% black workforce and like living in sometimes in the deep South, you know what I mean? Or like in other cities, like, or even a city like Detroit or whatever, or LA. And so it's fun hearing like an Ivica Zubac
Yeah, yeah.
sounding like a real LA
Cities that
dude
have their own
or a
regional
Marcus
like
Sol
regional
sounding like a
languages and
Memphis man.
stuff.
Yeah, it's like not
Yeah,
only are
yeah.
they coming and picking up like Americanized English, but they're picking up specific like regional like black dialects of American English. And it's so cool to hear that hybridized with their own native accents. It's so much fun. And it's one of my favorite things about basketball, honestly, in general. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, Dirk sort of sounds like a Texas man. Like to
There's
some
some of that
extent,
too.
right? Because he even like learned he even really learned how to speak English in Texas. So it's like
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty
Shit,
funny.
even
Um
Luca, who came in already speaking English. Like I remember there was that clip that went around of him going, "God
and
damn,"
Spanish.
and I was just like, "Yo." I was like, Luka's been hanging around, man. He's been
Yeah.
out in the city.
Oh yeah, for
He
sure,
got he
for
got
sure.
some flavor.
He
He got some
is.
flavor.
I don't know. I agree. He's a spicy white. He's an exciting white, just like this wine. Oh,
Hey,
yeah. No, I don't know.
hey,
It's
good
been.
plug, good plug.
It's also a really. It is one of those endearing. It is one of those endearing like factors about basketball. It's like when you find out like when you're watching like football when you find out that like like someone like Josh McCown was like a really good basketball player and like that's why he's like
Yeah.
cool with everybody on the team is he just
Hmm.
wasn't an isolated white kid for like his whole life
Yeah. Yeah.
and like did other
It makes a
things and
difference.
like was just like a chill dude. Yeah, totally. It's just like it's funny. You know who the cool like the people who get along with everyone. You know that they like there's just like something in their background. You're like oh yeah okay that makes sense that tracks.
Yep. Yep.
But
Like
yeah,
finding out where Dante DiVincenzo
it
was
is
from,
it
I
is
was like,
sad though.
oh, he makes sense now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
'Cause I was confused by him at first. I
I
was
don't know.
like,
It
wow,
is.
he talks like that so naturally.
Yeah, I haven't really heard him speak too much. I have to be honest. But the Clippers are making a really big comeback in this game. I do not like it.
They just took the lead. They
Yeah,
were down by a
don't
lot.
love
They were
it.
down
I
by
mean, at
22.
least yeah, at least
That's
Jokic is out
bad
there
news for
freaking line.
Denver. There's a minute left as we're watching this right now, at time of recording. And if Denver fucks this up, they're going to be down 3-1, and it's not going to look good for the somewhat recent champs, who also, speaking of teams that don't really have a lot of obvious trades they can make to improve their roster, the Denver Nuggets, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, they're well. We can just jump right into the playoffs, but from that, yeah, the Denver Nuggets are not looking super great. They're in. Russell Westbrook's injured. Looks like MPJ is pretty hurt. Jokic just looks frustrated and tired. Um, Murray is Murraying. Gordon just looks mentally exhausted. You can like the way that fight kind of there was like that pushing and shoving earlier in this game.
Yep.
That just felt like everyone was pretty mentally tired. You can tell that team is under a lot of stress. I feel like the vibes have been kind of shitty there and they need to do something about it. Another team I wouldn't really be surprised if a bigger name moved than we expected, like a Murray or an MPJ to be honest. I
Those are the
think that
guys
they're
that
going to
wanted to
do
move
everything
too.
they can to try and well, Murray's kind of gotten himself back into the fray in a more of a way that I think some team like honestly a team like the Orlando Magic would fucking he'd be perfect for them. Right? Like someone who just provides a little bit of shooting and offense, but you don't necessarily you still have two other really great apex wings who are going to get you most of your
Mhm.
buckets, right? Um they would take a chance on someone like him. So I feel like Murray is easier to
Would
trade than
you
MPJ, but I don't know.
would you swap Murray for like a Jalen Suggs type? Like somebody who can like bolster that defense on the wing and on the perimeter, be like a stopper, who's maybe not like a great offensive player, but the rest of the Nuggets kind of carry the load there. Maybe a little more MPJ shooting, a little more Aaron Gordon trying to score. Like, would you feel comfortable with a trade like that?
Um well, yes and no. Sorry, I'm just looking up Jalen Suggs 3-point percentage
Yeah. Because I don't
because
think you could trade Murray for a player better than him because I just don't think they have the draft capital to add to a trade to get somebody
no,
better.
you'd have
So I
to
think
give
you
up.
have to
Well,
make
they'd have to.
somebody, yeah, equivalent but different kind of guy. You have to go for like a Suggs or like a somebody in that general level of quality.
Yeah, I feel like it wouldn't be the worst move. I mean, the thing about Jalen, it's not like he's a black hole on offense.
Hmm.
Um, his assist numbers low key concern me, but that would be fine with a player like Jokic. He's obviously going to keep the ball moving. I think the stopper situation would be pretty helpful. Um, Lord Jamal, but the problem that we have with in that situation, that kind of trade scenario would be that Murray is one of the only like elite 3-point shooters on that team where someone actually has to guard them. It's him, MPJ, and Jokic, and
Yeah.
that's like, and maybe Aaron Gordon when he's having like a good night. But like, it's he's that's the problem is when you replace him with someone like Suggs. I think that Suggs is a talented player, obviously. Uh, okay. Well,
Well,
and the other point
Brown and
thing is
Straw's are
you're
really shooting
losing at least
lights out.
yeah they're starting, but they don't. They're not consistent enough either. Um, and they're still young. Murray is still a better player in terms of offense, but yeah, the defense that you would get from a player like Suggs would be good. That would just depend on what other moves you were able to make and what other players you could potentially get from like Orlando if it was a trade situation. Can you get KCP back? You know? But I mean, it would be okay. I think you could, if you maybe got Cole Anthony also out of it or something like that, it could also help just as like extra because Cole Anthony would be a good off the bench kind of starter, or like an off the bench kind of guy, backup point guard. Him and Suggs like honestly do work pretty well together in Orlando. And if you could somehow maybe pry him as well, or I don't know. Cole Anthony, honestly, I think to me does actually have low key starting potential, but I don't know. One of the Orlando point guards would be okay, I guess, but you would need to get some other stuff. Suggs would be the best player, I guess, but I don't think it'll happen. But honestly, I think actually if there's someone was to trade for John Morant, I feel like Orlando would be a good fit because it would be a good fit outside of the outside shooting part, but at least they have the defensive ability to make up for Jaws like lack
Yeah, the
of
spacing would
offensive
be
defensive ability.
challenging. The spacing would be challenging, but I think it's already like that.
Yeah.
You know, what's gonna change?
Honestly, like yeah, it man,
By the way, we have a
Jokic is
so we're
did
going to
Gordon just tip that
overtime
in?
in Nuggets
Oh my god, Gordon
Clippers.
just damn. All right, well this game's a barn burner. On that note, actually, I just wanted to like I feel like there's been some
Oh no,
since
never
this is a
won.
very watchable and fun series, I think we agree this. Yeah, it was right at the buzzer.
Shit, it hasn't popped
I
up on
can
my
hear my
screen yet.
partner
I've been
freaking out
following on the
upstairs.
app because I'm behind.
But yeah,
That's huge for the
Aaron Gordon
Nuggets.
got that. It was a putback dunk game winner. Oh my God, Aaron Gordon, you beautiful
He didn't even
motherfucker.
put back. He caught an air ball. He caught an air ball and dunked it. It
Yeah,
didn't even hit rim or nothing. Jokic tried like a
yeah,
fadeaway
it
for
really
like,
was.
yeah. He
Yeah.
missed everything on the shot, and Gordon just caught that shit out the air and dunked it. That's a hell of a way to lose the game too, after like a really good defensive possession.
My God, Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon looks like Predator with
Oh my
his
God.
locks right now, but he got that.
He dunked it with as little time left as possible before the buzzer went out. Like the ball is going through the rim as he
Oh,
got the
point
buzzer.
one.
That's
Oh, ho,
less than
ho,
point
point
one.
one
That is
second.
incredible. That is incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Damn.
if that shit happened to me in 2K, I would have thrown my controller to the fucking moon. Like I would have been absolutely furious. Like,
Yeah.
everyone just watching the Jumbotron.
Everybody, yeah. um, the series has
Look at
been
the
pretty
face.
crazy. I mean, the Nuggets aren't the team that they used to be, but damn, they're never gonna go down without a fight. I mean, as long as you have Jokic, you've got a chance. Um,
Yep.
I think that there's been some definite.
Oh,
We can talk
that's
about the
good
specific series
analysis.
and teams a bit more, but yep, fuck yeah.
Westbrook's
I think there's been
flashing,
some
man. Look at
definite
that.
tiers. Oh yeah, Westbrook is styling. He looks good. Damn.
It's a tough
Anyways,
way to lose. At home too.
yeah,
At
this is
home.
great.
That's tough.
This is great podcasting content. Yeah, no. This has definitely been by far, I think, the best first round series, the most watchable first round series. Uh, there's been some, there's been some tears here. So, there's been at least one series, and that was for sure the Oklahoma City Memphis series. That honestly, it could have been an email. I was,
Yeah.
I'm glad it's
Yeah.
over. I'm sorry, Memphis, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that's over. The next one is definitely Cleveland, Miami. I don't need to see Miami
Yeah.
anymore. It's over. Could have been an
No,
email.
goodbye.
Yeah. Magic Celtics has been fun just because it's been kind of sloppy, but like obviously the Magic were gonna lose, but it's not as much of a bloodbath as I expected since the first game. It's just that I mean it's like a literal bloodbath because Goga's elbowing rapists in the face, but sorry, I can just hear my partner screaming upstairs. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they gave it to him. Denver won. All right, series is tied.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Tie it up. That's some good shit. That's some good ass basketball. Jokic wasn't lying. He said if you like basketball, you're gonna like the series. This is that
No,
good shit.
100%. To be honest, too, as a fan, like obviously I'm rooting for the Nuggets just because I've kind of had a soft spot for them, but I also wouldn't be mad if the Clippers end up actually going far in the playoffs. To be perfectly honest, like I am
Yep.
happy to see Kawhi back at his level. He's back to his
Kawhi and
Kawhi-ness.
Jeff Van Gundy both. Kawhi and JVG
Yeah,
both back.
Right?
And they never
We
left.
back. Literally. Put the word out. So I don't know.
Boys are
I'm
in
happy
fact
for
back.
them too, but the boys are back. I obviously want to see the Nuggets advance, but at the end of the day, like it's going to be a nightmare to play Oklahoma City too. So, and no one would blame the Nuggets for going out at the end of the day either, because their situation's been pretty tough. So they're carrying a lot into this playoff run, that's for sure. Emotionally, I think. I imagine Michael Malone is riding his mountain bike around Colorado, drinking craft beer right now, and not stressing at all. So good for him.
Mm, Man, Rockets Warriors is. I think we've gotten the bad series out the way. Like Rockets Warriors have been pretty intriguing. I think the Jimmy Butler injury, depending on how much time he misses, could fuck it up. But it's kind of a fun one. I actually went into this thinking the Warriors would take it, but if Jimmy ain't Jimmy, then it's kind of a toss up for me.
Game one definitely looked like the Warriors were. It was going to be a Warriors, like, romping through the series, because the
Mm,
Rockets' lack of offense came home to bite them. But then Jalen Green showed the hell up, and the Rockets played really, really well after that. And yeah, I think you're right. The Jimmy Butler of it all really does sway this series, though, because I think with Jimmy it would have made it a lot harder. The Rockets just, they aren't a good offensive team, and so if the Warriors had Jimmy and could kind of have a bit more offense to match up and just have that extra defensive player, it probably would have made a difference. Playing random white guys with mustaches no one's ever heard of is probably not great. It's not a great situation to be in if you're the
Is that a Reed
Warriors.
Shepherd
So,
reference?
but
Is
it has
that a
been entertaining.
mustache?
I agree. Even yeah, it's like a creep. It's a creepy perv mustache. Yeah.
Gross.
Well, the Intuit Dome really is a pretty building. Um, yeah. No, I think that Rockets Warriors has definitely been more fun though than I don't know. I expected. It actually is giving big Golden State Sacramento vibes, like from a couple years ago when Sacramento was like a 2 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were just like that young fun team, kind of, it's giving me that vibe a little bit. But I actually think the Rockets have the ability to win just because the Warriors are not the same at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they are not. But it's weird seeing Freddie in a Houston Rock uniform. Still don't like it. Still not a fan. Shangun has been really good. He's had a good splash to his playoff debut. So yeah, he's the Rockets Warriors series has definitely not been. It could have been an email series. It's been more interesting than that
Mhm.
because I mean, anytime Steph Curry's on, I would say the uh, oops, yeah, Cleveland
Cleveland
Miami. That's
Bucks.
definitely a could have been an email. Bucks Pacers has been. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like watchable. It's
Yeah, I thought
also
it was gonna be an afterthought, but
not.
Bucks took game three.
It's more
Bucks took,
watchable than
they're
I
showing signs
expected.
of life. Showing signs of life. Giannis is dominating. The rest of the team has mostly been cheeks, but sometimes he can steal you one, man. What impressed me was in game three, uh, Lillard was like two for a fucking million, and they still got the win. So I mean, little signs of life. The Pacers aren't unbeatable, even though I think they're clearly a better team than the Bucks. They show something. They show something. They'll make a series out of it, but I just don't think they're gonna.
Gary
I don't
Trent,
think they're gonna win it.
yeah, Gary Trent Jr. has been a bit of a hero for them. Good for him. Um, him and Dame back together again. Dame was always his biggest believer, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, the it's been more watchable than I expected because honestly, I was pretty nervous, especially when Dame was out for the first part of the series. I was a bit scared that it was just going to be the Bucks getting run off the court. It's been a little bit like that, but it's been better. The Bucks seem to be they clawed back at least, but I do expect the Pacers to win this one. For as much as this one does feel a little predetermined, it is at least a little bit more watchable than
Mm.
Miami Cleveland, for instance. The Cleveland looks really good, and Kenny Atkinson had like the greatest coaching moment ever. The coaching highlight like the other night with his unimpressed timeout challenge in the ref's face. I've never seen a ref get posterized before, but that was pretty great.
Sure.
Um, the Cavs look in fine form, but they need to play some real competition. I'm pretty excited to see them play the Celtics. That will be they'll be really fun. But that's kind of it for the East in terms of like actual interesting anything. The
Yeah.
Pacers are fine, but I'm with you. They're beatable for sure. Their defense still feels shaky, even though it's been better than last year. It just still feels like it's not trustable. I guess.
It ain't it.
Tyrese
It ain't it.
Halliburton.
Nah.
Yeah, exactly. The Knicks Piston
Pistons have
series
been
has been
fun.
definitely in that really good. It's been in the high level of watchability for sure.
Yeah.
The Pistons look ready for this moment. At least Cade Cunningham looks ready for this moment, and they've been really fun. They're not going to go down quietly by any means, and yeah, I mean it is kind of the Knicks are having a little more trouble with the Pistons than they probably should be, and that definitely does not bode great for them in the next round, in my opinion. I'm a little worried about your Knicks there, buddy. I think that
We're taking a
Cat is
shot. What
still
are we doing?
Cat when it comes to the playoffs.
The Pistons beat us 3-1 in the regular season, including both games at MSG. The Knicks are in kind of a weird position as a team. Like last year's team had like it definitely had like clear weaknesses, but it also had very clear strengths. Best offensive rebounding team in the league. They were they were just a series of fists defensively. You know what I mean? Just all brawn
Mm-hmm.
and like aggression, and there's enough to cover for Jalen Brunson's defensive deficiencies. This year's team has what I call the Phoenix Suns problem. Uh, the D'Antoni Suns specifically, where if you have a point guard and a big who are subpar defenders in your starting lineup, it doesn't matter what the other three guys are. Your defense can only be average at best. I don't care. The Suns had Raja Bell, Boris fucking Diaw, Kurt Thomas, Sean Marion, all these guys on the wings and the big man positions. But it didn't matter that much. You can only be 15th-ish at best because yeah, Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire playing 36 to 40 minutes a night. Knicks are playing Brunson with the T-Rex arms and not great foot speed at the point of hiding him defensively on whoever the other team's best worst scorer is, and they've got Cat who is exploitable. It doesn't matter if you have uh, Hart and Bridges and OG out there. The defense can only be so good. So the offense has to be great, and it's hard for your offense to be great when one guy can dribble a
This,
basketball.
yeah, this actually like reminds me of the Nuggets a little bit before Jokic started to get actually like pretty serviceable on defense
Mm,
because Murray and Jokic were both kind of liabilities for a while there, and Jokic then figured out like how to be at least to make up for like his physical deficiencies at least, and at least
yeah.
know how to be in the right place at the right time and that kind of stuff. And he's become a serviceable defender. You can't overcome certain things, but he's come a long way. The thing with Cat is like, he made so much defensive progress last year, but I always wonder a little bit how much of that was because you have Gobert on the court and he can tell you where to go. And
Mm.
also like,
But
people talked
before,
about how
that's
he,
never
he
fine.
he guarded Jokic really well, which is true. Yeah, and how he guarded Jokic really well last year. Like the Wolves kind of switched their scheme for, excuse me, Cat to guard Jokic, and then Rudy could kind of like help off like Gordon. And he guarded Jokic well, but I mean, at the same time, he also played against Jokic for like a long time, and it's not like anyone ever solves Jokic, but repetition does make it easier. And he's always been pretty exploitable. And playing the five was always his worst defensive position. I think that's where, to your point, he really improved in Minnesota is because he was playing the four,
Yeah.
and he doesn't necessarily have the foot speed to play four exactly, but he was more successful there.
Yeah, some of it is like Cat has really embraced the physicality on the glass since becoming a Knick, which has been really impressive. There was a point in the season where he was leading the league in rebounds. Not quite the same now, but he's really boxed out aggressively. He's pursued the ball. It's great. But defensively, sometimes at the expense of actually contesting a shot, he's looking for that rebound right away. Guys come in the paint, they shoot their floaters completely unimpeded. They get to the rim, he's a little bit late to get there and contest. He's not good as a rim protector, even though he'll get the occasional block. And so, yeah, they bring him up to the level sometimes on screens to try to like be more aggressive and try to like, make it so dudes can't just run at him with a full head of steam. But he's not always disciplined. His hands are
Yeah,
sometimes
like
down
what
instead of
Jokic does.
up. He's sometimes flat-footed. He's not really in a defensive stance sometimes, so you can blow by him. And so, yeah, the lack of consistency there, and it's not like he's not trying, but it feels like the mental lapses are still too frequent for a guy who's not far from being 30. Like he's been in the league for like 9 seasons now.
Yeah, long enough. Definitely long
I
enough. I
still hope we
mean,
know who he he is kind of
That's like
playing. We
Jokic,
know
like
who he is at this point.
100%. Yeah, like Jokic always plays up to the level of the screen as well but his hands are always elite, right? That's why he like gets so
Mm,
many deflections and it makes it a bit easier. Whereas like you said, Cat sometimes, yeah, his hands are down. He's just like not playing the passing lanes. He's not. I don't know. The
mm,
mental lapses are pretty there for him, and it's definitely going to be always a problem for the Knicks. And then the other problem is that like defense isn't what it was, but the offense also is struggling too. And because yeah, Brunson's the only guy who can dribble, and you can only, Cat is helpful, but he is so inconsistent in the playoffs. Anyways, that's always been his problem. He's never been a consistent offensive presence in the playoffs in his career. So that's not really helping. It doesn't seem like the trade has like necessarily made the Knicks better. It just made them different.
yeah, and I think in some ways it made them a little bit worse because they don't have like, okay, this is the thing that we're incredible at, and we're gonna do it all the time. Like the Knicks kind of had this idea with this trade
Yeah.
that they were gonna be five out, and they were gonna be, like an offensive. Oh, we're so hard to stop because we got these 3-and-D wings, we got this ball handling point, we got this the center who can shoot it from a million miles away. But they're also not an elite 3-point shooting team. Like they don't shoot that many, they don't shoot them that well. So it's like, yeah, Brunson's got space to operate in, but like nobody really guards hard out there. Nobody really has to like pressure Bridges from 25 feet because he's not really that good above the break, kind of only in the corners. So it's like, yeah, there's spacing, but it's not really tying defenses into knots like that. So you just put like your best defender on Brunson, you try to get it out of his hands, and you watch a guy like Bridges or OG, who's not a good passer or a great ball handler, try to get their own buckets. And a lot of these possessions are like walk the ball up the court, being pressured full court, walk it up there, and they do like a couple screens and a couple actions, try to get it to Brunson, and then Brunson gets it, and there's 5 seconds left in the shot clock, and he's got to go solve all the problems. He gotta do all this shit just to get a bucket, and it's just like, man, like that's not sustainable. Like even for someone as good as him in ISOs, it's just so fucking hard to succeed that way.
Do you think that Tom Thibodeau is in any danger?
I think I think he I don't necessarily think that he needs to be because I think even a more imaginative coach would probably struggle to get significantly different offensive outcomes with that group. I mean, your second best ball handler's campaign, and he's a 10 to 20 minutes guy. Like, let's be honest. Like, he's a good player, but you're not going to give
Yeah, you
him
don't want to play
30
him more
minutes in
than
the
that.
playoffs. Yeah. Yeah, and so it's like, and yet even your best bench guy, Deuce McBride, isn't really a ball handler like that. And so there's only so much you can do strategically to just change the fact that like there's really only one guy on the team who can beat somebody off the dribble when it's not a closeout, right? And I think he'll
Yeah.
be under pressure just because they used so much draft capital to get this roster. I don't think it's necessarily deserved. I think it's still a wildly imperfect roster. I think they're still a level below the real contenders in the league, but it's gonna be pressure just because of what it is. There's no picks left to trade, really. Um, the players you've got are all sub all-star guys outside of Brunson and Cat. Like all your other dudes, OG, Bridges, Hart, they're all guys who are like that tier below all-star. And so like your return for them isn't going to be something dramatically better than what you're trading away. So they can tinker and like change the shape of the team a little, but they're not necessarily going to change the overall talent level. So I don't know. I don't know what you can really do to make the team significantly better as they are without maybe trading a guy who you consider a core piece, like I don't know what Bridges' value is right now. It's not what it was before. You're not getting 4 first rounders for him at the moment for sure.
Yeah, the Knicks kind of wildly overpaid for him. He's a bit of a sunk cost at this point as well. OG probably has the best
Yeah,
trade value, but you don't really want to give him up after just getting him. It's your first full
yeah,
season
because
with
he's
him.
been
Same
everything
with
you wanted
Bridges.
Bridges to be. He's been everything you wanted Bridges to be this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I always thought the Bridges trade was a bit weird to me because Bridges is essentially just the same player as OG. And I was like, Toronto did this. It didn't work. Like
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
have OG and Pascal on your wings who are essentially the same player,
Hmm.
but you also need to have the right backcourt and you need to have the right center.
Yeah,
And
OG
Cat
is like, what if Bridges
probably
was
isn't the
buff?
right. I don't
You know
know.
what I mean? What if Bridges was swole?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. And a bit of a and like a better on-ball defender, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
OG, but yeah, I don't
Especially
know.
now.
The I feel like Tibbs probably gets like one more year after
Yeah,
this.
he deserves
And
it.
I think there'll be some acknowledgement, like you said, that the roster isn't really complete. They've only just made these changes. It would be pretty unfair. I mean, he's had less than a full season with Bridges. He's had one full season with Bridges, one full season essentially with OG, and this is the first full season with Cat. So I feel like I agree he deserves more time.
Yep.
Leon seems a lot more patient than previous Knicks regimes. So
Mhm.
hopefully that bodes well for Tibbs. But I'm curious to see. I think in the next I don't know. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Ugh. I'm old. I don't know why I'm yawning. I think in the next 2 to 3 years though, Tibbs has to do
I
something in
think
the playoffs or
I think the thing that's interesting is, and maybe the one complicating factor that I think helps Tibbs out here is that Mitchell Robinson, who is the team's best non-wing defensive player by a considerable margin, missed most of the season. And so you look at the Timberwolves just last year made a conference finals run with Rudy Gobert at center, Cat
Cat
and
is your
John
four.
Ford. And
Yeah.
so, can you replicate that by, next season, get if you get a healthy Mitchell Robinson, which is not a given because he's injured a lot. If you get a healthy Mitch, can you go Mitch at the five, Cat at the four, maybe Hart off the bench, or maybe I would probably want to put Bridges on the bench. Maybe Hart off the bench. Team's a little more balanced. Got a little more depth now because you got a starting caliber player coming off the bench finally. And then maybe you're able to build a better defense because of that situation, and maybe the offense isn't as like spaced out. But maybe you can do a little something with that. I think getting a shot at trying that for at least until the trade deadline could be good for the Knicks. Um, because like Mitch is maybe not quite as good a defender as Rudy, but he's more athletic. He's less likely to get roasted on the perimeter by the Lucas of the world, even if he's maybe not quite as disciplined interior protector as a Rudy. But he's quick though. He's a lob threat too.
One point of Rudy. One point of Rudy Gobert's defense that I will give is that Luca cooked him on that possession because Luca went out of his way to cook him on that possession. Rudy mostly
Yep,
got
yep.
Luca's number that night.
Hmm.
He held up real well against Luca that night. And this happens to Rudy all the time. He holds up if you actually look at the game, you're like, "Oh man, he played really well." It's just that one fucking play every time. It's like getting dunked on. You're just you play the best defense the whole friggin' possession and then yeah, or the whole
It's
game.
it's
But
tough for Rudy because like the plays that beat him are always like highlight plays, and it's because it takes a
yeah.
highlight play to beat him. And so when dudes beat him, they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, 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 and they're like fucking. It looks like they're fucking him up, but like really, that's if it was so easy to just blow by him, then that's how you would do it. You wouldn't do 85 crossovers and like two head
Yeah.
fakes and like fake pass behind his back. Because if you could just blow by him, you would just do that. You know what I
We
mean?
just
Like
do
people
that.
love looking cool, but people also love scoring buckets. If you could just walk by his ass, you would
Well,
do
and it
that
is
over and
cool
over
to
and over and
just
over.
blow by too, right? And
Yeah,
yeah, I think the thing with Rudy is he always gets voted. Players just don't seem to like him, but at the same time, I'm like they
yeah,
go out of their
yeah.
way to try and embarrass him. But at the same time, they know how hard they have to work just to do it. They all know
Mm.
how good he is, but they all just for some reason it's like fuck that guy.
I think it's because he's kind of goofy for one, and then
Yeah, oh yeah,
also
for sure.
because he's a rim protector who's not like a shot blocker. He's not Hakeem throwing your shit in the stands. He's not Mutombo wagging his finger at you after just absolutely fucking annihilating your shit. He's very like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
doing
like
these
Roy Hibbert
contesting your
verticality.
shit and you're gonna miss it. Yeah, yeah. He's not averaging 3 blocks a game like Wemby, where you're like, damn, I thought I had a layup and now my shit is in row 15 and some girl is holding it up and asking me to sign it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah,
intimidating the way he plays defense, even if it's effective. So I think dudes just don't respect him. I think they just also don't fuck with him as a person. Like, I really don't.
I think so too. I think he's not French and cool French like Wemby or Tony Parker.
Yeah.
Like
He's the French that like
there's
George Bush used to make fun of and shit. Like,
yeah. right? Like there's cool French, like the Albert Camus, like smoking a cigarette, leather, rioting, kind of
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
And then there's
yeah.
like the French who, fucked off to Vichy during the war, kind of French. Like I don't know. Like there's
Yeah,
two types of
there's
French.
there's the France that like Anthony Bourdain showed us and it idolizes, and there's like the France of like Pepe Le Pew. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
unfair to
Like
French
for me,
people.
it's French existentialism. Like honestly, like
Mm,
Albert Camus is like one of the coolest fucking people to me. And that's cool
yeah,
French. And then there's like Charles de Gaulle, and you're like, cool. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah. There's two,
unfortunate.
and
It's
Rudy
unfair to the
Rudy
French
falls
people.
squarely in the non. Yeah, like Wemby falls squarely in the cool French side.
Mm,
Uh, and like Marine Johannes, I think Malonga's gonna fit there. Like,
hmm.
um, all these players fit on the cool French side, and then there's Rudy squarely in the non-cool French side.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Damn, that's tough, man. That's tough.
I don't know. It is tough. It is tough out there for French folks
Well,
everywhere.
we got one. Speaking of Rudy, the last series, kind of maybe the most fun one, so far outside of Nuggets Clippers has been Lakers Wolves. I've actually enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
Enjoyed it.
it's been good. I honestly I can't most partially out of Lakers hate and also because I actually believe it, but I honestly think that the Wolves have a better chance than people have been giving them.
Hmm.
Game 2 was tough, but they have shown that like when Anthony Edwards can keep it together and play a mature game, they'll destroy you. And the thing that the Lakers don't have that the Wolves have is youth. The Wolves are going to run the Lakers up and down the court this whole series. And like, even though Luka's young, he's not exactly like, he doesn't play a fast game, right? LeBron's
Hmm.
pretty young. He doesn't feel like running. Or he's like old, but he doesn't feel like running. Like, none of these guys feel like running. The Lakers play a much different game, especially in the playoffs. And the Wolves are just going to be big and physical. And like, they're going to outbig the Lakers pretty significantly. The challenge to some extent is that Anthony Edwards is the only one who can truly dribble the ball, so that is a bit of a problem, and that will definitely bite them in the ass here and there. And foul trouble has been a bit of an issue as well, but that's been a really fun series overall. I've been
That
really
one.
enjoying it. We have
Hey, the low seed's up 2-1. The low seed's up 2-1. The Lakers kind of shit the bed at the end of game three. Wolves are in the driver's seat, and I think they might win this shit. I really think they might win the series, especially if guys like um fucking McDaniels are gonna come out there and score 30. Like if that's happening, I don't know what you do if you're LA. Like
yeah.
that's tough. And like DiVincenzo ain't even shooting for shit and the Wolves are up 2-1. Like that's not a great sign for the Los Angeles Lakers.
DiVincenzo hasn't shot great, but he has been really good in the like in between areas. Like he's
Yeah.
helped them play faster. He's passing the ball quickly. Like he's not dwelling too much on this slump. He's still playing really hard
Hmm.
and just bringing energy. And like, oh, Steven Adams, he's on the screen. The guy that we dedicated
Yeah.
this episode, and this wine to. Here's to Steven
Dante
Adams.
DiVincenzo, uh, Dante DiVincenzo, a good secondary ball handler who's a quick decision maker and has a quick trigger from three. If only the Knicks had a wing like that. If only.
Only
Where can we find one of those?
a guy who had his career highs, his best season ever on your team.
The guy with
Uh,
one of the best shots in Knicks playoff history. Damn, just had him
yeah.
for that short period, man. Like gone but not forgotten. Gone but not forgotten. The Nova Knicks live on forever.
It's so shitty they had to get rid of him because he was so perfect next to Brunson.
Right after the photo shoot too, right after they did the whole promotional campaign, man. I've still seen some of the players wearing the fucking shirt, the Nova Knicks shirt, like in recent months. Ah, it hurts.
Yeah,
It hurts.
that was that was
Shit,
tough.
Archie Giacono too. Archie Giacono, we haven't forgotten you. You were number 4 in the Nova Knicks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The real ones remember. Real ones remember.
That's okay. I'm feeling optimistic in Toronto because it looks like we have a repeat of the bench mob from when Freddie and Pascal were coming off the bench. That whole. I think the Raptors we have something in our rookies, so that's what I'm holding on to.
Y'all trying to get every
Um,
Canadian who exists too, which is always fun.
I mean, we really just have RJ and Chris Boucher.
But Jared Rode, I believe no AJ Lawson. AJ
AJ,
Lawson is
well,
Canadian. Yeah,
AJ Lawson. Yeah, but he was in the G League most of the season anyway. But I
I thought
think
I had
he's going to
Olenek.
be something. I think they, huh? We did.
Olenek.
Kamloops
Yeah.
man, Kamloops man, Kelly Olynyk. Um, he was, yeah. Olynyk was actually quite helpful to the team, but I understand why they traded him. The rookies feel good, but anyways, back to Wolves Lakers actual playoff teams. The series has been really fun. It's been very very physical, very chippy.
Yep.
Luka being sick has definitely been an issue. Like he was clearly not himself. He didn't have a Michael Jordan flu game. He did not have his own version of that last
Definitely.
night. That's for sure. He looked like he was dying. It's funny because when he has his this is a digression, but when he has his hood up like that on the bench, he looks like those Kermit memes, like the Kermit and like the dark hood. That's what
Oh yeah, yeah,
all
yeah,
I
yeah.
see when I see Luke on the bench with the hood over his face. Oh, it's so bad. But yeah, he did not look well. Get well soon, I guess, Luca. But yeah, I don't know. Anthony Edwards just he's been really good with keeping his decisions like fast. He's moving the ball. He's not playing hero ball. He's being aggressive, but not like trying to take every shot. Um,
Mhm.
he's I don't know. He seems to be playing the right way, and as long as he can keep that together, I think that the Wolves have a good chance to actually take down the Lakers. And I would love nothing more. I really do. I love Luca, but he's become much more unlikable to me now that he's a Laker. I don't know. It's just how this shit works. I have a couple Lakers friends in my life, and the trash talk is real, so it will always remain that way. I don't know. Just can't cheer for the Lakers. Can't do it.
And for the Wolves, if they go to the next round, they'd play the winners of Rockets Warriors. So the Wolves, as a 6 seed, they have a real shot at going to the conference finals if they can close out LA. Because I think they're better than Houston, and I think they're better than the Warriors too.
I agree. They have a much easier path to the conference finals than the winner of Clippers Nuggets. Clippers Nuggets,
Yeah.
like Oklahoma is like licking their chops right now because they're going to be fresh. They get a bunch of rest, and now they have to play the winner of this like bloodbath of a series between Denver and the Clippers.
Mm.
So, like, whoever has to go into that game is going to be at a serious disadvantage to the Thunder. And the Thunder have played both teams very well all year. So, I mean, the Thunder have played every team extremely well all year.
They won like 68
Let's be
games.
real.
They did all right. They did all right.
Yeah, they did just fine. Yeah, they're fine. So yeah, the Wolves actually do have a very good chance to go back to the conference finals. And for as much as the vibes felt really off all season, they're clicking at the right time. It's working. You
Yeah.
can tell though that they're definitely they need that ball handling guard who can just space the floor for them and get the offense
Mm,
going. Like they just need something. They don't need someone who wants the ball in
mm.
their hands all the time. They just need that kind of like 3-and-D kind of set up the offense point guard. Like basically a
Yes.
younger version of Mike Conley.
I was gonna say, you know who they need? They need 2013 Mike Conley. He would be fucking
Yeah,
perfect on this team. Why does he
right.
have to be
If
86 years old?
if Mike was 10 years younger, it'd be perfect.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'd put them championship favorites immediately.
100%. Yeah, like my partner and I were talking about the other day, like or like last night, was like the Wolves just don't get the respect. Like this current iteration of the Wolves doesn't like
Mm,
last year and this year. They just don't get like it's they're Minnesota, right? They don't get talked about. And like I'm not going to believe it until they get far, but I really believe in Anthony Edwards. He is a player who I believe
yeah.
like will win championships. He should be winning
Mm,
championships. Like he is that kind of player. And like it's been really fun for I hope that he doesn't end up like a Kevin Garnett where he has to like leave to go win a ring cuz like
yeah. Yeah.
he he is worth it. They just need to get that one
Okay.
more player. It seems like they have the coach and the player, right? They've got like Chris Finch and Anthony Edwards seem to be like on the same page. They seem to work well. It's like a Jokic Malone connection, right? Like it seems like
Mm,
things are good there, and that's what it's like Degnault and SGA. They've got that connection. So it seems like they just need that one more player. Like yeah, 2013 Mike Conley would have been ideal.
I would even go as far as to say that I would be willing to trade Mikal Bridges and Landry Shamet for Anthony Edwards. I think he could be the missing piece for the New York Knicks. He would look incredible between Brunson and OG. It would be, he could reunite with his buddy Cat. It'd be a good old time. He could tell him to not commit stupid fouls. Just like old times.
Just like old times. But it won't happen because the Knicks do not have the ability to trade. You'd absolutely have to give up Brunson to get Anthony Edwards. That's the real kicker of it all.
Mhm.
and Minnesota's never going to trade Anthony Edwards. Um, yeah, but I honestly, yeah, Minnesota and Denver Clippers they've been the best series I would say so far. Along actually, Knicks Pistons is up there too as like best series so far, and then after that it's been like yeah, Bucks Pacers the most watchable I guess, or fairly watchable. This Houston Golden State series has been watchable. Not always the most fun, but like I wouldn't say it's like the top of the series, but it's been like for a first round series, it's not bad. Um, Grizzlies and Miami they could have been an email. We didn't need to see that. Which also I guess kind of brings me to the next thing I wanted to actually ask you about and kind of talk about was like how do you feel about the play-in? Because we're what, 5 years in now with the play-in?
Yeah,
Four or
it's
five?
been a minute. Mm, I'll tell you, I'm
Like
happy
enough
to
time, I think
be
we
in the
can start to
playoffs.
judge it.
It's been interesting because I know why they did it. They wanted teams who, instead of quitting on their season to fight for a playoff spot, unfortunately, a lot of times it's just the buzzsaw. They're going to get destroyed by the one seed. Some of the seven seeds have a real shot, but they would have had a real shot without the play-in. But I do think two things are true here. Like one, for those teams who are playoff caliber teams who just had a really shitty run with injuries, like say this year's Orlando Magic, like if they'd fallen all the way to 9 or 10, which didn't happen. I'm trying to think of a recent example, but one isn't coming to my head. But a team that like should be a playoff team, is a playoff caliber team, but just, oh man, their star player was missing for 35 games and it fucked them up and they fell to 9-10. That's their shot to reestablish themselves as a playoff team, get back in there, and then play the first round series and compete the way they deserve to. I think that's cool in that aspect, especially since injuries are so common now with people just like overuse of like on the legs, man. People are getting worn down. And the other thing is like, keeping the last bit of the season interesting, having teams fighting for the playoff spot. Some of those some of those games in early April are just disgusting, man. Like dudes going through the motions, guys not really playing guys for their normal minutes load, teams just like outright
A
sitting
lot of
guys
randos.
because fuck it. Fuck, 'cause the Raptors playing dudes for like 10 minutes because they don't want to accidentally win the game, that kind of stuff. I understand why they did it, but in practicality, sometimes, man, it's just like, why are we doing this? Like, did we really need to watch uh, like Bulls Hawks or whatever so we can watch them get murdered in the first round? Do we need to watch the Heat go out there and get smacked in the first round and play like two games for the right to get smacked in the first round? Like just let them chill. Like we don't really need that. But what I've seen a few times in the play-in has been like one conference. It's been fun. The other conference has been ass.
Yeah.
The West play-in was so fun. The East play-in, like we talked about before, could have been an email. That could have been an email.
Could have been an email. I guess the thing I don't like, I'm on the fence about, I guess, is like in most cases the original 7 and 8 seed clinch their spots going in the
Yeah.
from the plan because they're in an advantageous spot to do so.
Hmm.
So it makes me think that like from a playoff perspective strictly, did we need the playoffs? Because at the end of the day, the 7 and 8 seed end up there anyway, most of the time, with the exception of like
Yeah.
when the Miami Heat went from like the 10 seed to the finals or something crazy. Like that was pretty wild because they were like the play-in team when they played the Nuggets in the finals. That was like everyone's like, oh, this is a play-in success. This the NBA feels validated. But that Miami Heat team was probably an example of what you were talking about, where they were like more playoff caliber than they looked. It's just that like injuries and other shit kind of just happened, and then also playoff
Hmm.
Jimmy is a thing. But I'm with you in the sense that like at the end of the season, it does for those teams who are kind of still in the chase. It does give a little bit more intrigue to the I don't know the end of the season because yeah, the last like month and a half for a lot of these teams, you're like, why? Why are we
Yeah.
here?
Sometimes when it's close, it's like okay, it's kind of a fun concept. Like in the East this year, even though it was the I think less interesting of the two play-ins, it's like
It
okay,
has
the
been
eight seed
mostly.
Atlanta was a 40 win team at the eight seed. Chicago at 9 was a 39 win team. Miami was 37. I for one, I will say I don't ever want to fucking see a 37 win team in the postseason ever. But also, like, yeah, they were within three games of the eight. It's like, okay, get a chance to duke it out, blah, 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 blah. In the West this year, the eight seed was a 48 win team. The nine seed had a losing record. So seeing the eight seed who almost won 50 games have to fight with a losing team to earn their spot in the playoffs that they really rightfully earned, it's got to be incredibly frustrating for the players on the
Well,
Memphis Grizzlies.
but even think about that too, because the Grizzlies were in the position to put to put Minnesota in the play-in. Like it was
Yeah,
even Denver had a shot at being in the play-in in the
yeah.
West because the West was so deep, right? And this is I don't know, and like actually since the play-in happened, I would argue that like the West play-in's always been more interesting because the teams have just been
Mm,
better than the East. And like I don't know, it's not really unusual for the first round series to be hot garbage between the 1 versus 8 and the 2 versus 7. Like that's this Houston Golden State series thus far seems a little bit different, but for the most part, they're pretty chalk, right? But I mean, in the WNBA, you see like the 1 versus 8 is like the 8 seed has a losing record usually. Um,
mm,
it's not exactly like great basketball, but at least in that case, it's a shorter series. I would definitely, personally, I would actually love if the first round went back to 5 games, just because I want to see the bad teams be done, put out of their misery sooner. And I would also love for teams to not have as much risk of just getting injured in the first round and ruining potential playoff runs. And like, I want to see the most stars and the most good players on the court through the rounds that kind of matter the most, you know?
mm.
I don't need to see a 7 game series of Oklahoma City, Memphis, when Memphis is clearly just not. Like, they should have lost in the play in truly because I don't think they wanted to be there. Like, there was just, like, there's a lot going on over there and they weren't really playoff ready. So, like, it would be nice if the NBA went back to that being a 5 game series, in my opinion.
It's just tough. Like when you see two 48 win teams having to duke it out to prove that they deserve to be in the playoffs when a 39 win Dallas team is given that same opportunity. It's just like, man, when it's a 9 game gap, it's like, dog, y'all should just win more games. Like, y'all don't need that lifeline. Y'all deserve that lifeline. When it's close, 2, 3 game difference, it's like, okay, that's compelling. But when it's that big a gap, it's like, dog, y'all just let them have their off season, man. Let them draft in the lottery. Like, they don't want
But
this any more
on
than
the
we do.
other, but on the other hand, it also gives teams who say were injured for the first half of the season
Yeah.
and then got healthy a chance to get back in it, right? Like, because that happened to the Lakers a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, where it was like the
Mm.
Lakers. LeBron complained about the play in the first year because it was like this exact the first example where it
And
was
then
like
when he was in it, it was
you're
good.
winning and then all of a sudden, you know, right? But then as soon as like he's in it because they were injured the first like 3 quarters of the season, then finally got healthy,
Mhm.
he was cool with it, right? Because all of a sudden, like you get a chance to redeem yourself after having an
Yeah.
injury ridden season and like having a chance. So it's kind of like a double edged sword in that sense. I don't know. It's weird. I don't. It has helped the regular season competitiveness, which I think is a
Mhm.
thing that the regular season has needed help with because it is frankly just too long. 82 games is really long. Frankly, I think 75 would be perfect, or even like, yeah, 75 would be great. I don't need that many fewer games, just a little bit
Mhm.
less would be perfect. It's just too much, I think. And
Yeah.
obviously, but I don't even know that like the season being that long is even the problem. I think it's also just like the NBA has been a victim of its own success on platforms like the internet that just makes watching games like the clip of like the highlightification, right? You just watch the clips. You're not really
Mhm.
watching games. And that's just
Yeah.
honestly an issue that every major legacy publication, for lack of a better word, has faced, right? The internet has made it so that you don't have to be forced to watch. Like network TV has this problem, right? That's why they all have streaming
Mhm.
services now, because people don't watch network TV anymore the same way that people don't watch ESPN to watch games quite the same. They're going to be on Twitter, they're going to be wherever, right? It's not
Right.
that different. So I think the idea that the season's too long is a little bit of a misnomer from like the TV ratings perspective, but from an injury and just like wanting to see the best players always playing situation and not having as much like rest time for like just people just sitting, right? Because I think that's unfair to players, or sorry, unfair to fans, given how much we have to pay to go to games. It sucks if you pay and you get there and find out that the stars aren't playing because oh, it's just rest, right? I understand from that perspective because at the end of the day, this is a business. Without your fans, you're not there. There's no reason to be playing, right? This is entirely about like I hate it when fans bitch about how much athletes get paid because at the end of the day without us they wouldn't be making that money. So that's just the nature of the game, right? Like it's we have to rely on each other. And so I, as a fan, I want to see the best quality basketball, which means I want fewer games because I think that that's how you get it. And also just I don't need to see 10 games of bullshit at the end of the season when
Yeah.
my team
Yeah.
is crap, right? Like when the team is good, awesome. Fine, don't endless games, wonderful. But when they're in a rebuilding year, less fun. Please cap it. Please put me out of my misery as a fan. Like if it wasn't for this podcast and just generally being a basketball fan and therefore watching more like national kind of stuff, like if I was just purely a Raptors fan or like in your case for all those years just purely a Knicks fan, like there'd be no reason to watch basketball. Like there just wouldn't.
Well, I would have watched none. Like I watched
Yeah,
like when I was a kid for a minute because we lived overseas and we just had the national games. I watched like three times as many Phoenix Suns games as Knicks games because my dad's a Suns fan and they were actually good and therefore always on national TV. Whereas the
exactly.
Knicks were, bag of garbage. It was real bad.
Like when yeah, like when the Knicks were bad, like you and that's the thing, is like real you still watch because they're your team. And if you're
Mhm.
like a real fan, like you still pay attention. Like I watched a lot more Raptors games this year than like I should have, given the quality of the
Yeah.
team, especially at the end of the year. Like especially in fucking February and March when there was no reason to be watching Raptors games. I was still watching. But at the same time, yeah, fewer of those games is also not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
would
I
love
don't
to
know what
see
the
more back to
answer.
backs. That'd be great.
I truly don't know what the answer is, but I think less
Yeah.
games would help, and it would eliminate the need for a plan a little bit. I think. I still think less games would be ultimately the answer to some of the NBA's biggest problems, but at the same time, I don't think that anyone's ever going to agree to that because that would mean earning less money, and
Yeah.
no one
They
wants
did
to
the
do
player
that.
survey on that recently, and it was like they asked, "Hey, if you take less money, would you take less games?" And they were like, "Fuck no." Like
No.
overwhelming. Were like, it wasn't like 55%. It was much greater number than that. They were like, "Nah."
Yeah. Yeah, that exactly. So, I don't really know. I don't I would be curious to know how players feel about the plan. I mean, I think the more opportunity at the end of the day, the more opportunities for them to be competitive, the better, right? They are
Mhm.
competitors, and nobody's out there to put. Because that's the thing about tanking that's always interesting is that like you can play the worst roster that you can possibly play, but you can't force those players to not play hard, right? They're trying to put
Mhm.
out your whole career as a professional athlete is what you've put on film, and so that was something that I kind of like listened, I heard, and it kind of stuck with me when someone was talking about the Miami Dolphins tanking, kind of before they got Tua there, and just about how like at the end of the day, like you can put out the worst roster you can put out, but you can't force those guys to not play because
Mhm.
the tape they have is the tape they have, and that's what gets them other jobs. They may not work for you next year, but they have to work somewhere, and so it's the same with the end of the NBA season, and like the play-in helps too. Like a player like Scottie Pippen Jr. right now, he's like earning himself future money because John Morant got hurt, but also they had the opportunity to stick in the playoffs and get this far. Like he's even though they didn't win, he tried his freaking best in 2 games. So he's earning future money. So I don't know. It's annoying to watch as a fan, but at the same time, I also just like you got to roll with it. But I don't know that the play-in has changed as much as the NBA would hope, but I also don't know that it's hurt anything either. I don't think the results have ultimately changed that much. You still watch boring 1 versus 8 series,
Yeah.
but the end of the season is a little bit more compelling in some cases, especially in like in the West this year.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Miami versus Cleveland is gonna happen whether you want it to or not. And if it wasn't Miami, it would have been fucking Chicago. It would have been the same result.
It's inevitable. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, any other, I guess, final thoughts on the playoffs? Anything that's happened in basketball before we wrap up here? The wine, also. I guess we should come back to
I
that.
I will
Sort of the
be uh we're recording on Saturday night right now. On Sunday, the Knicks will be playing game 4 against Detroit. on the road. I will be in a state of stress that may not be particularly healthy. So yeah, uh, I'm gonna hang in there, man. I'm gonna survive. At least we got home court back. We'll be good. We'll be all right.
So send vibe checks to Chris tomorrow. Noted. How are you feeling about game four though? Like, I mean, aside from just stressed?
It still doesn't feel like, even though their offensive approach was better in game three, it doesn't feel like they really took control of that game. 'Cause they still, it was still a really, really close one. Still had chances to fuck it up at the end. It doesn't feel like they're ever really gonna assert their will on the Pistons in a way that allows them to just put them away. Like every one of these games is gonna be genuinely stressful, in a way that makes you question if they're a significantly better team. Yeah, even if they win this series, I don't think they necessarily feel that much better about the next couple of years of their outlook than Detroit does. I think Detroit's playing with house money in a way that New York is not. So, even if we escape in 6 or 7 games, I don't know that we'll. Detroit, the gap is close enough that Detroit would feel bad about losing this series, which says a lot about a team that's pretty close to the second apron, which is tough for New York. So it could force some hands in the front office to make some changes.
It's interesting, yeah. The East is so weird because there's essentially two teams and then everyone else.
Yeah. Well,
Like the gap between 3 and 8 is very minimal.
yeah.
Truly. Like the Knicks are clearly better than I would say the Bucks
Mhm.
and the Magic, but I wouldn't really clearly say that they're better than Indiana or Detroit necessarily. Like they probably
Mhm.
are based on seeding, but I wouldn't say they're like very a lot better, like head and shoulders like different tier. Like they're not.
Mhm.
And yeah, I that does say a lot about where the Knicks are at. But at the same time, it's funny because the vibes still feel good in New York. They don't have
Yeah.
that stressed like feeling because it was so bad there for so long that on some level, I think Knicks fans are like, we want to win, but we're also like happy to just have a team that's actually like giving us something to cheer for. Like there's an element of just
Honestly.
happy to be there, which is hilarious given how like invested the Knicks are in trying to win also. It's such a
Yeah.
weird like vibe. As an outsider at
I
least, like
remember.
I'm not a Knicks fan. So just as like from
Yeah.
like the outside looking in, it's like Knicks fans are super jacked again. Like it's fun to see the garden
Yeah.
rocking, all this stuff. From the outside, the vibes seem really positive because, like, hey, the Knicks are good again. Like this organization actually seems kind of stable. They still have a weirdo owner, but like everything else seems pretty good. But then you compare them to the Pistons, and you're like, oh, like,
Yeah. It's weird because I remember growing up, all the Sports Center talking heads would always be like, New York demands a winner. Anything less than a championship contender, blah blah blah. And it almost felt like justification of like Dolan's impatience and his like impulsive like, hey, you need to go trade for this aging star right now, shit. But what's funny is people have found out in the last few
yeah,
years the reality is like, no, Knicks fans just want a team that is good and plays hard. You know what I mean? Like that's really what we want. We want a team that doesn't fucking suck and that plays hard and gives a shit about being on the Knicks and wants to be there. Like that's really what we want. And like there may be a time where if we've been good for enough seasons where it becomes, hey man, why haven't we won a fucking championship yet? But for now, honestly, man, just a team that will go out there and win a playoff series and not fucking embarrass us and make us the laughing stock of the NBA of the NBA scene like we had been for most of my upbringing. It's pretty cool. Like team, when I tell people I'm a Knicks fan now, they don't go, "Why?" You know what I mean? That's
oh,
they people used to give me
yeah,
sympathy when I told them I was a Knicks fan. They would like feel bad for me, and I'm like, dude, you're a fucking like. They'd be a fan of like the fucking like the pre good team Warriors. I'm like, you feel bad for me? Like you're a Kings fan?
yeah,
You feel bad for me? This is not great because we were sucking out loud. We weren't sucking, you know what I
when
mean,
you're
in a way that was subtle and quiet.
when you're in the same tier of like patheticness as the Sacramento Kings, it's not
Yeah,
great. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
The thing about the Raptors is that everyone just no matter how good or bad you are, it's always just like, "Aw, cute."
Yeah.
So,
Oh, they got basketball in Canada type of thing. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Which was annoying when the team was really good and like winning, and
Yeah.
we didn't get the respect we deserved for the championship, but also like now I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever.
When they were like a one
No
seed
one's
and
paying
people were like,
attention.
eh.
We can be shitty. We can be shitty and just fight amongst ourselves as fans. Raptors Twitter is a
Oh,
goddamn disaster these days. Whew. boy.
I can't
Is
even
it
imagine.
toxic? But it's honestly driven me off Twitter a little bit. It's been bad. Not Elon, it's been
Yeah.
Raptors Twitter,
Damn.
which said something. Yeah. No, it's just a lot of Scotty hate that I'm not into when he's so young. There's so much runway there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I just,
They must be sick of the
I don't
Subway
know.
ads or something.
I mean, again, we're a Canadian podcast, so contractually obligated to talk about the Raptors for a couple minutes. Um,
That whole
I
thing, the press
don't believe.
conference. Did you see that with the reporter who got
Yeah,
caught on a hot mic
yeah,
talking about
yeah.
yeah, talking like insulting his intelligence basically and talking about like his enunciation and
Uh,
stuff. Not a good look.
hated that.
Not a good look. In a
Not good.
super fucking multicultural ass city too, to be acting like,
Yeah,
somebody having
like
an
that's the
accent
thing.
makes them less than is
It's not like this is fucking Utah here. Like this is not Salt Lake
man.
City where there are 5 black people. This is like, you
This is one
know,
of the most diverse cities on the fucking planet.
actually it is the most diverse city on the planet. It is the only city on the planet that has a person from every single country living there.
More than 50% of Torontonians, or more than 50% of Toronto residents are born outside of Canada.
Yeah,
And to
like
be out here talking about accents, man, like, come on.
yeah, for sure. So that was not great. I have honestly this season as much as Scotty because the season was hard because of just the injuries to Scotty and IQ in particular. The fact he played so few games, it was just like
Mhm.
hard to see the vision. But when they did play together and IQ was not rusty from being injured, you could really see the vision of like how Scotty and IQ are going to work together. And if Scotty can just figure out a passable shot from outside,
Mm.
he's good. But even then, like his mid range is killer, and like if he just relies on that and like just plays aggressively, like I don't know, I have a lot of faith in Scotty Barnes, and it pisses me off how many Raptors fans are like, "Oh, trade him," and it's like, dude, he isn't. He's been in the league for what 3, 4 years. Like, let's calm down. Let's let
Yep,
the
yep,
man grow. Like, let's give him some time here. And especially like quickly, like he played 30 games or something. He played very few games this year. He was injured the whole season, which
yep.
is not really been a thing in his career. He talked about how hard that was, but you could see him
Mm.
on the bench like being a leader and like, he was very vocal and like he tried to stay engaged and like the jury to me is still out on Darko. I know he got lots of votes in the worst coach player survey, but I don't really know there. The player surveys are always so funny to me because I'm like, what constitutes a bad coach to you? Like every person on that
It means I
list,
don't
there's a
like him,
different
is
reason
what it
for why they
means.
could be considered a bad coach. Yeah,
It means I
right.
don't fuck with him.
So it's like, but it's just funny because it's like, okay, like, cool, I guess. It's just weird. It's funny, but not to say that like there's nothing. I mean, he's corny and there's a lot of stuff about him I could see being unlikable, but the team seems bought in, right? Like the best
Yeah.
players on the team seem bought into what he's trying to sell, and I think, and I appreciate that he's quite honest about how much he wants to grow as a coach and like the learning process
Mhm.
behind being a better coach. It's kind of been refreshing because a lot of coaches are not willing to talk about that. They talk about accountability, but they don't really talk about the learning process of becoming a coach. So I kind of respect that.
Yep.
It's really hard to be a coach who goes from being coaching a developmental team through a tank to being a really good team. Mark
Mm.
Daignault in Oklahoma seems like one of the very few people who's managed to do that. Um, Philadelphia obviously got rid of Bruce Brown for that reason.
Yep.
He, couldn't quite get them over the hump. There's been a Kenny Atkinson. I mean, that was a Kyrie Irving thing more than anything else. I think he's proven to be a great coach, but it's hard to go from tanking to good team. So I have optimism in Darko, but at the same time, like I think the jury's still out. I want to now see him with a new roster and see how things go that way. The players seem to buy into that, and that's what matters at the end of the day. The vibes seem good in the locker room, even during a really bad spell of losses. Things seemed like the team was still focused and still together, and at the end of the day, that's kind of a big part of what matters. So we'll see there. But yeah, I don't know. The off season's gonna be super interesting. But right now we've still got some great playoff basketball ahead of us. So far, Houston's not running away with this game, but they've got a bit of a lead here in the second
They're
quarter.
in control. They're in
So
control early.
I guess
Golden
by the
State
time we
offense ain't
record,
doing shit right now.
yeah, by the time we record next, we'll probably be into the second round or pretty close.
Mostly. Yeah, yeah. We
Yeah,
should be. We well into the second round. Yeah, we'll be in there.
yeah.
2 weeks. Yeah.
So next time we're back, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that, and then WNBA training camp stuff starting to hit. WNBA is ramping up. The draft happened. We don't have. We'll do it next time. Maybe we'll go through a few draft thoughts. But yeah, any other things you want to wrap with here?
You know, as much as we're locked into a series with them right now, I am very happy to see Detroit basketball be back. I've been to game at the previous stadium, at the Palace at Auburn Hills. It's a cool fan base, man. It's a cool city. It's cool to see Detroit hooping. I hope they fucking lose by 85 next game, but yeah, I'm glad to see them competitive. I'm glad to see them have something to root for. It's really cool to see. But you know, also fuck them, man. I hope we kick their ass.
It's pretty fun being like a fan of things while also trying to like
Yeah,
do this kind
yeah,
of podcast thing where we talk about other teams and have to be sort of nice to them. Because we don't really talk about just one team. We're not like a Knicks podcast or something, right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of funny.
If they were
I'm with
playing
you.
Cleveland, I would be rooting for them so hard. I'd be rooting for Detroit with like everything I got. If they're playing Boston, especially, oh my God, I'd
Fuck
probably have
Boston.
like a
Yeah.
little Pistons like fucking flag. I'd be waving it around on the podcast. But we're playing us, so you know, kick rocks, man. Kick rocks.
Fuck them. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's funny
yeah.
because my partner and I were talking about like why we hate Boston. It's so funny because it's like neither of us have ever been there. Ever.
I have.
It's like, yeah, but it's just reputation, and it's just reputation, right? It's like reputation
Yeah,
of the fans of like I don't even particularly hate a ton of Celtics players, like a few
yeah.
of them, yes, but a few of them, like most of them, like I don't care. Joe Mazzulla is a
Mhm.
psychopath, so it's creeped out more than anything by
He's like
him.
sneaky funny. He's sneaky funny though, which is
Yeah, it
I
has
hate
to.
it, but he's
Some
sneaky
of the
funny.
serial killer shit has to be like a bit, right? That can't be
Yeah,
real. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
He's
okay,
clearly doing a bit.
because
Yeah.
there's no freaking way he is like I don't know, some of these quotes you're like, you have to be you're this is a bit. This has to be a
Yeah.
bit because otherwise like how has the FBI not been called? Like there are bodies buried otherwise. Like
Yeah.
I'm convinced. Like he's such a freaking weirdo. But I kind of love that he's trying to make Jason Tatum less soft. That's been kind of fun.
Mm.
Like when he was yelling at him to get up the other day. That was pretty great.
And then he missed the next game. He was like actually hurt.
But then he came back.
God damn it. Damn
And
it,
then
Joe.
he's talking
This
about how
is
much
your
he loves
players, Joe.
and he's talking about how much he loves when Kristaps is bleeding. I'm like, Jesus. I mean, I also like when Kristaps is bleeding, but it's for different reasons.
Should never let an MMA bro coach an NBA basketball team, man. Like never should have let that happen.
Like I said, like I am also cool with Kristaps bleeding, but it's definitely for different reasons. I'm not trying to hype him up. I just want him to bleed. Like he just sucks.
Mm.
He is definitely the Celtic I probably hate the most. And then I would say the Jays, Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. They just annoy me.
Hmm.
And then after that, whatever. I mean, Peyton Pritchard's stupid, but beyond that, there's something about him that I just don't like. He's weird, but I mean, I love Drew Holiday. I hate that he's a Celtic. I love Al
I don't know
Horford.
about that.
Hate that he's a Celtic. Yeah, it's just a bummer that he's a Celtic more than anything. He's one of those players where if he went back to being on any other team, I'd be like, hell yeah, Drew Holiday. But can't do it now. Yeah, but for sure. Um, the Pistons. Back to the Pistons. I definitely think they have a great future, and I'm excited. Bright future Pistons for sure. So yeah, I don't really have much else other than I'm really glad that we don't have to be subjected to any more Thunder Grizzlies basketball because
Mm.
I swear to God, at one point today, I like was doing something and I was heavily involved in that thing for a solid while, like long time. And I looked up and I was
Mm.
like, "Oh, this game is still happening? God damn it!" Like,
It didn't
why?
need to. It did not.
It could have ended at halftime. I don't know.
Hit the simulate button on that one, man.
Yeah, it reminds me of all of the corporate teams meetings I have to be part of where I'm like, yep, could have been an email. Just could have
Do
been
a
an
coin
email.
toss.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand that those series have to happen for the purpose of the bracket to work, but fuck. I didn't want to watch
Yeah.
that. I did not. No one needed to see that.
Nah, nah.
But like earnest question, do you think Ja gets traded?
I actually don't think so. I think because they have a new coach, I think they probably want to give him some time with Ja to
Do you think they hire
assuming
him as
he's
the real
willing.
coach though?
Yeah, whoever winds up being the new coach, I think you want to give him a chance to do something with Ja because like I'd imagine you wouldn't change coaches unless there was, hey man, we got to do something with our star player. You know, get the best out of him like he was a few years ago. It'd be weird if they change coaches and then also change star players. That is a wholesale change of operations there. That'd be really shocking. But yeah, I think they got to at least give the new guy till the trade deadline, at least.
Part of me thinks that they trade Jaw and keep Triple J and build around Triple J.
It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if that's the direction I would go in, but it would not surprise me.
I think he's proven to be the better player, kind of, in the aggregate over the last couple of years. Like last year, he really stretched his offensive game
He's
and
done more
became,
playing, that's for sure.
and that too, he's just on the court more. But last year, he really stretched his game and really showed that he could be an offensive threat. And I think in the right offensive system, he could be. So I don't know. I just don't think he fits actually that well with Jaw in terms of like their play styles.
Yeah.
He's a pick and pop type big. Jaw needs. He's a bit like Luka. He kind of needs a versatile big who can either maybe pop to the mid range or be a lob threat. He doesn't necessarily need that pick and pop guy. So yeah. But that's all I really got for the playoffs. How did you feel about the wine overall? I know you're not really a big white wine guy typically.
I don't buy many, but I do enjoy them. I think Sauvignon Blanc is probably my favorite white wine, to be honest. Big fan of those. Every time I've had a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, I've really enjoyed it, and I'm always like, huh, I should get more of those, and I never do. I don't know why. They have not let me down. Shout out to the Kiwis and their funny accents. They have they they're batting 350 with the wines, man. Like maybe not a lot of home runs where you're like, oh man, this is absolutely astonishing, but hey man, singles and doubles. They're on base every single time they step up to the plate. So shout out to New Zealand.
Sauvignon Blanc
You
as a
know, their
whole.
Sauvignon Blanc game is New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc specifically. I have yet to have one that I did not enjoy. Not a single one.
Yeah. There's been a couple where I was like, wow, this is one of the finest Sauvignon Blancs I've ever had, but there's been mostly just the
Mhm.
floor is high, the ceiling is like not. There's some really excellent ones out there, but what we get in
Mhm.
Canada, we don't always get those.
Yeah,
Um, but the floor is high. There's very
yeah,
few that are terrible. Stoneleigh is definitely one of the wines that I compete against in the market all the time, so that's
yeah.
fun. Drinking competitor wine, but it is good actually. I do if outside of the one I sell, which is Kim Crawford, go buy Kim Crawford. Outside of that, I actually do like this one a lot. It's one of my favorites. It's tasty, it's easy. Um,
It's good shit.
I wish I had looked earlier. There's another one that I really love that actually is available at LCBO. So maybe
Mhm.
next time, but I'll send you a link because it's delicious. It's a really good
I'm
Sauvignon
about to
Blanc
check it out. I'm about to
from New
check it out.
Zealand. Yeah, Savvy Bee from cold like France. French Savvy Bee is delicious, obviously, because
Yeah,
that's where it's from. California is not it for Sauvignon Blanc. You want to drink Sauvignon Blanc from cold climates. That's definitely.
yeah,
Otherwise, gross. At least for me, I don't know.
yeah.
But New Zealand is good. This one was tasty. I think it really hit the spirit of Steven Adams. Pick up and move anybody necessarily, but just hit his chill side, is wearing
Yeah.
slides to
Yeah.
everything and just being a chill dude.
Five offensive boards. Good vibes on the sideline. What performance?
Yep. 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 The acidity really, I don't know, hits you like a hard screen from Steven Adams, but
Yeah,
still nice and like fun, bubbly and fun. So
yeah. It's an easy drink. It's an easy drink.
for sure, highly recommend. I think we're definitely over the 10 episode mark now. So we've got a lot of wines that we've tried now. So I think soon we should probably power rank these and see which we've
I think it's time.
liked the
I think
best
it's
and
time.
not liked, Yeah.
I think it's
So we
time.
should start adding that. I think we should start adding that segment to this podcast, but we'll revisit
Yeah.
that. In the meantime, make sure you're following us on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, at Wine and Dime Pod. It's AND also, but it's in the show notes. So check that out. Um, Obviously, you can find this podcast wherever you do listen to it. Leave us like a review, though, if you do. Actually, that'd be pretty sick for any five of
Yeah.
you who do, because it would help other people find us. And then there
Yeah.
wouldn't be just five of you listening to us, and that would be pretty
Yeah.
great.
Hit that 5-star button.
Yeah. I think we have a crossover episode with my other podcast, actually. So I don't know, double dipping. We got something in the works there. We've got a few people we're working with. So some more fun episodes coming up as well. More playoff action. Yeah.
the other pod, Pan Historia, by the way. Go check that one out. A history
Yeah. Yeah.
podcast. We
It's
might fuck
we're
with a little bit of
we
basketball
back.
history as a little fun crossover.
Yeah, I think we'll hit some basketball history, particularly women's basketball with the W coming back. I'm really excited about the season
Yep.
starting up. The draft was pretty spicy in some ways, not spicy in others. But lots of good shit coming up in the basketball world, not just the NBA playoffs. So we will be, I don't know, posting about it on social media, but here to talk about it as well. And with that, yeah, we'll talk to you next time.
Till next time, later.